Do you want to discover more joy, peace, and freedom with food, exercise, and your body? Here we bring a compassionate, holistic, and sustainable approach to fitness so you can fully enjoy the life you want and express your unique self with the world. I'm Michelle Roscoe, and I want to help you find fitness freedom. I'm so glad you're here. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. Today, I have a special guest, Sarah Giencke. She is a nervous system and resilience coach who is certified in TRE. And if you don't know where that is, tension and trauma releasing exercises. She is the founder of Reset, Resiliency, which is a wellness consultancy. Through her work, she helps people reclaim power and balance over their nervous systems so that they can live less stressful lives and more peaceful lives. Having an intimate relationship with trauma herself, Sarah deeply understands the connection between the body's trauma response and adverse life effects, being easily triggered, hypervigilance, and chronic pain. She places an emphasis on building safety with her clients while helping them gain self-agency and self-awareness. That is so beautiful, Sarah. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Michelle.
I'm so happy to talk with you today and talk about health from this angle of the nervous system and to dive into your wealth of knowledge. So I'm so happy that you're here.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here as well.
So just a little bit about yourself. What is it that led you to get into this work and wanting to help people in this way?
So the short answer is I took a class at my gym, but there is a much deeper story behind this, as there is for a lot of entrepreneurs and what they get into. So, I say that there's been a lot of different things that have brought me to this work. And like you mentioned in my bio, I have an intimate relationship with trauma. And so we kind of bring those things into our lives, and whether it's our relationships or workplaces. And so years ago, when I was really facing some of these things, I realized I was the only one that could control myself. And so I went on this whole journey of self-discovery and started taking care of my body and working out. And then I got into meditation, and then fast forward many years, basically right before the pandemic, I took a class, a TRE class at my gym studio. And that was really my introduction to this modality. I thought it was super weird at first. I was like, what are all these people flopping around on the floor? It just kind of, takes us aback a little bit. But something within me was very curious, and I decided to keep going. And I trusted my teacher, who at the time was my yoga studio teacher and then TRE teacher. And then she actually became my trainer too. So very small, intricate world here, but I trusted her. I leaned into the practice and the modality, especially throughout the pandemic. And it changed my life. As you had mentioned before, it helped me come out of these heightened states in my nervous system that were impacting my life professionally and personally. And so now, today, I am certified myself, and I am working with individuals to bring this modality or this tool to their toolkit or toolbox.
That is amazing. I love how you followed that path, and now you're helping other people. I also think it's so cool that your gym offered that class, like your gym studio offered this class, like that. How aware, I guess, and what a neat way to bring in other avenues of health into the gym. I really like that.
Yes, very holistic.
And to go back just a little bit, you said that you realized that you were in control of your health and like you were the only one who could really help yourself, like you had to take responsibility. That's something that I really emphasize with my fitness work too, is like, you have the power to create your life. What do you want to do with it? Was there like an event or a happening that kind of triggered that for you, or helped you see that more clearly, where you decided, you know what, this is my life, this is my health, I'm going to take more control of it?
That's a really good question. I don't know if I can think of anything right now that led me to that exact aha moment. I think it might have been kind of an unpacking over time, unpacking of my old belief systems about myself and values and such that we're raised with. And then when you get to college, you really experience a new lens of life to look through. And so I think it's kind of like a combination of things.
I like that because it wasn't an aha moment. And for some people, it might be that, but for others, it might be just a series of little exposures to different ideas. And that the fact that you were open to it made you more aware of what you could do and what your responsibilities were. I like that. Can
Mhm.
you share a little bit more about what you do today, like how your work like looks practically and with your business?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. So I label myself as a nervous system and resilience coach. And really, I work with individuals and groups to help them connect back to their bodies and their nervous systems while teaching them about polyvagal theory, is really what is the crux of the work that I do with individuals. That's what I build upon. And so the main modality that I use is TRE. And as you mentioned before, that stands for tension and trauma releasing exercises. And essentially, what that is a series of exercises which release deep muscular patterns of stress, tension, anxiety, and ultimately trauma from the body. So I won't get into all of that, but I just to kind of round out your question here, what it actually consists of are, like I said, those stretches, which are very similar to some yoga poses that people may or may not be familiar with, which then stretch and then we lightly fatigue those muscles so that we can tap into this innate shaking modality, or I call it tremoring. Shaking and tremoring are two words that are used interchangeably. But really, what I want to point out here is that all mammals can access this shaking. If you have a dog, you may have noticed them shaking at the fireworks this year for 4th of July, or maybe they shake when there's a lightning or thunderstorm. That is their nervous system's natural way of discharging that stressful event, that external trigger. With humans, we have basically evolved to a point where we conditioned ourselves not to do it. And so what I do with people is I help them tap back into that natural shaking modality, which can help heal ourselves from the inside out.
That is incredible. So many things are coming to mind as you're sharing this. So it's like a very primal mammalian response that finishes or completes, so to speak, the stress cycle. I remember reading this book called Burnout by the Nagoski sisters. Have you heard of it?
I haven't, but I'm very familiar with burnout.
Yes, and they talk about the stress cycle and how one of the best ways to release stress is through movement, like what you're saying, like the shaking,
Hmm.
like a deer or a gazelle being chased by a lion after they realize they're safe, they kind of shake and tremor, like what you're
Exactly.
to
That's
really.
exactly what's happening. Yes.
And I'm just curious. So, of course, in my work, exercise is really big with being a fitness coach and health coach. Exercise is important. And it is a way like dancing, cardio, we have a stressful day. We know kind of intuitively, I'm going to run this out or I'm going to dance it out. How is tremoring or shaking more, I guess, different or even maybe more effective or maybe in different situations, depending on what the situation is? Like, how is it different from just regular movement or exercise?
That's a really great question. So there are different modalities for different bodies. And I always say, everyone can tremor, but tremoring is not for everyone. There, like you had mentioned, dancing, yoga, running, jogging, walking, anything that is active is going to help us get grounded and reconnect back to our bodies and regulate our nervous systems. With tremoring, it is a little bit deeper. We're taking it to another level where we are kind of, if you could imagine getting a massage, hitting right on that trigger point to completely release that knot within our body. It's kind of the whole reason why I named my company Reset Resiliency, because we are like pressing a button, like we're completely resetting our body, our nervous system. So it's a little bit deeper, and it's just another way to very effectively get at the root cause of what's, the stress, what's holding all that stress within us.
Yeah, it makes me think of different modalities, even with therapy. Like there's different ways that you can approach that therapeutic work, and they're all valuable, but it depends on the person. It depends on what you need. And it sounds like, like exercise is one way we can do it with our bodies, getting a massage, but also like tremoring can be so valuable in like a deeper, more, I guess, what is the word I'm looking for? Like animalistic, almost like very tapping into our bodies in like the deepest level where we completely take out our.
Hmm. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yep. Um, yeah, I'll leave it there, but yes.
So how do you see from your work physical health and fitness being connected to, our emotions, our brain? I think that in recent years, and maybe the studies are kind of, the research is kind of leading us to understand how much our bodies, like the body keeps the score, for example, that book really helped enlighten us, like how much our bodies hold and how much our bodies are the pathway to like getting to where we want. But like, how do you see all of that connected? Emotions, brains, physical health from your perspective, Sarah?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. Everything is interconnected. Our physical, mental, and emotional health are forever intertwined. We really can't separate them. And I think that's one change that's coming down the pike when it comes to mental health work is not just going after the head, but going after the body and looking at the person holistically and helping them. Um, but yeah, I mean, when we get triggered, there's a whole physiological reaction that happens within our body. We think a thought, we think it's a threat, then our all those chemicals get released into our body, the adrenaline and then cortisol. And so that right there is a complete link between the thought and the emotion and the physical body. So that whole reaction that happens is really tapping into all three of those parts. I'd even say spiritually as well, like that. I guess emotional and spiritual can kind of fit into
Mhm.
one category, but yeah, that's how I see that really all weaving together.
Yeah. So let's just say like someone in their day-to-day life, someone in their day-to-day life, they're experiencing lots of stress. Maybe they work long hours, they have a family to manage or relationships. They're busy, they're here and there, like just maybe normal, like average quote unquote American lifestyle. Like, where do you see them? How could tremoring and shaking like help them in their day-to-day life? Like if they were to set aside, a time a week or a few times a week to do this, how could that impact the rest of their life?
Hmm. Well, once someone's really at a point where they can self-regulate as a nervous system coach, I help them get to that point, which I can kind of explain what that process looks like prior. But once they reach that self-regulation point, they can really tremor as much as needed. So a mother or a father or anyone could really tremor in the morning to set their day up right. Maybe they are still carrying some residue stress from the day before. Let's say they had a stressful meeting in midday. They can go ahead, take a break, tremor, recenter themselves, and reset themselves so that they can show up and be their best selves for that person and really be present and not have their mind flailing all over the place, thinking about all 50 million things or the things that happened in the past, ruminating, the things that humans do.
Mhm.
Or they could tremor in the evening, which would help them really just release everything that they've gone through that day. They can they can kind of feel more tired a little bit afterwards too. So it's a really great way to help you kind of drift off to sleep.
Mm.
But just to put a tangible example to that, I was having kind of a stressful day before this. And so I was like, I'm going to go ahead and tremor for like 20 minutes, 15 minutes, and just get recentered and then come back. And so that I could be my full self for this conversation here today. And also to help settle my nervous system because we do think that, not think, we sometimes experience, conversations like this to be stressful or
Mhm.
anxiety reducing. And so inducing. So it really helped me just recenter myself. So there's
That,
many different ways you can tremor.
that's awesome. So it's a tool that you can have in your repertoire, your toolbox for your health.
Exactly. Yeah. For your health, for your self care. exactly.
That's amazing. So, what do you see as the biggest barriers that most people face in letting go? Because it sounds like with a tremoring and nervous system regulation, there's a lot of letting go that's required. And I know that when we do let go, we tend to experience more peace in our lives. There's so much stress that we're holding, like things that feel so important and so big in reality that aren't as big, or we have stress, so much stress in our lives. So, what do you think stops people from experiencing more peace and more letting go in their lives?
Mm. Well, I think one barrier is really taking the time to step aside and evaluate what's going on internally. And I think a prerequisite for that is even self-awareness. So doing this work, you need to have some kind of initial foundation of understanding yourself and kind of exploring what your triggers are, or what can get you really amped up, because you need to feel safe with yourself first. Otherwise, it's going to be a little challenging to build that safety and trust between you and that practitioner when you're first learning this tool. So anything like beginning with like some mindfulness or some breathing or breath work would be a really great entry point for people to this work. I think that that would really help with some initial barriers, because with TRE, there are several barriers, because it is such a, I'm doing air quotes here, but weird thing. We're not used to shaking. We label it as weak or strange or whatever. And so we have this analytical barrier where our brain wants to analyze what's going on instead of just experiencing it itself, which is really what the body needs to be able to let go and experience the tremors. So yeah, that's something that I really work with clients is let's just be in the experience. I'll make sure to answer all your questions at the end. I totally get your brain wants to go there, but let's give ourselves that space and time. We crafted this container between us of safety and trust. So let's be here.
Yeah, trust is a big part of that. You said that word, and I can see that because it's such a vulnerable thing. But I just the way that you hold space and you are so present, I can sense it with your energy. I think that it would be easy for people in that connection and that kind of environment to trust you. So,
Thank
so
you.
yeah, so setting aside time and building that self-awareness. It kind of makes me think of when I was in my early 20s, I would say. I was so unaware of my emotions. I had such small vocabulary for how things affected me. And over time, meditation really helped. Getting therapy really
Mm,
helped. Learning how to come into my body more. All of these things really helped me build that self-awareness. And of course, it's always a never ending process, which your work is so cool in that way because it's another tool that people can add to build more self-awareness, to have that avenue of greater health with their nervous system.
absolutely, absolutely.
So you mentioned how you can, like someone who has in their day-to-day life, maybe there's a lot of stress that they deal with. You mentioned how tremoring can be integrated into their daily life. What other tips do you have for people to better regulate their nervous systems on a regular basis? Like, what are some tips that you could give people listening who are maybe like, yeah, I want to get better at this. I don't know where to start. What can I do?
Mm. Well, we kind of already touched on this earlier. However, I'll just iterate here. There are many different ways we can regulate our nervous system. I love to personally get outside and walk and get connected to nature. I know when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I need to step away from my computer, whatever I'm doing, get outside and feel the sun on your skin, feel the breeze, and really just get connected to your surroundings and get out of that same space that you've been working in for how many hours every day. Another is obviously just exercising. You mentioned meditating, journaling, time with loved ones or friends, or even spending time with our pets, as they really can help regulate us. Other things that people may or may not be as familiar with, tapping or breath work. That's some deep breathing to help kind of tap into some trauma. I haven't tried that yet. It's definitely on my list. And yeah, anything that's really mind body related, it's going to help us reconnect and reset our nervous system.
I've noticed as I've maybe become more aware of my body and grown in that way in my health and my connection with myself, that when I don't, like, say, for example, today I was feeling this more, I had some bad dreams last night. I was feeling off. Like you said, I was like feeling a little bit off this morning. And like my body craved going outside and just being in the sunshine, going out for a walk, getting some oxygen. I craved movement. And I think the more in touch I get with my body, the more I'm able to hear those signals. Whereas before, I was so much more in my brain and the thinking of me that I couldn't tap into it. So it sounds like what you're really emphasizing and what's really important is like learning to be aware of our thoughts, but not living in there and coming a lot more into our bodies.
Absolutely. Yes. Noticing those bodily cues, or what we even call in training is like any kind of whisper. If you hear a whisper of a cue or a need, something from your body, honor that. Like that's how you build self-trust. When I was going through building that initial self-awareness and self-trust process, someone said, like, when you feel that initial call of, I have to go to the bathroom, like I need to go, stop what you're doing, go, and come back. Why are you setting your needs aside? These are common things that we need to do. And so when we listen to ourselves, we just further strengthen that self-trust.
That's so good. Sarah, why do you think we have such a hard time doing that? Why do you think it's like it's kind of like an epidemic if you want to call it. Like we're living our lives with so much stress and so much activation, like so little integration with our body, and sometimes the way that the world is set up, our systems, our society, it makes it hard to do. And it's almost like we have to fight against it, so to speak. But why do you think, why, from your perspective, why do you think it's so hard for us to just listen to our bodies? Like, I need to pee, I'm going to go pee. Like, why is that so hard to do?
I think it's because we are just being pulled in so many different directions constantly. And it's the classic hustle culture of like, got to go, go, go. I can't stop for 1 second to take care of myself or my needs, when we know like that just simply isn't true. And that's like a straight path to burnout where, where we're not pausing and taking the time that our body, like you said, is craving or needing, which it sounds silly, but is difficult to recultivate with yourself. You're kind of going against the grain and you're building different neural pathways and connections in your brain to form those habits of listening to yourself, of taking care of yourself when your body is calling.
It is hard in this society. There's such an emphasis on productivity, on making money, on being busy. It's really going against the grain, like swimming upstream to be like, no, I'm gonna take care of myself first. What a radical idea.
Right, so radical.
So if you could share one message about health, about fitness, about health to the whole world, I'm giving you a microphone and everyone, all the billions of people in the world can hear you, Sarah, speak. What would you say?
I'd say that our physical and mental health are equally important and are forever interconnected.
I love that. It's so true. And that's why I have such a holistic approach as well in my fitness and health coaching. I do want to say that your work, the work that you've put into yourself, I find that this to be true with people who've really invested in themselves deeply and gone against the grain to invest in themselves. There's a different energy, a different posture, I guess, that you can sense. And from the time that I met you, so for the listeners, we were at a Forward Fest, this big event in Madison this summer, and I walked into this big room. It was a big networking event, and I saw you, and I was getting a drink, and then you came up to me, and you're like, I saw you. I noticed you too, and I wanted to talk with you. We connected like right off the bat. There's such a good energy that you have, and I think it's because you've put so much work into yourself and really gone deep with who you are, what your needs are, and it shines through.
Thank you. Thank you. I honestly just attribute it back to having a regulated nervous system, like in polyvagal theory, the safety that is at the bottom of the graph. That's where you experience openness, joy, curiosity, love, play. That
Mm-hmm.
is where we want to live. That is where
Mm-hmm.
my nervous system was at the time that I met you, and your nervous system recognized that, and
Yep.
we latched on to that together. And so that's us co-regulating together, us being able to play and have fun and feel at ease.
Yeah. And I do want to emphasize for people who are listening, who are maybe interested in connecting with Sarah, learning more about her work, even working with her, co-regulation is such a thing. It's a real thing. It's like, could you explain it a little bit more, Sarah? Like what it is in between people, like so just people can understand what I mean when I say that.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a tricky concept. So, co-regulation is really something that we as humans need to learn from a young age on. You know, you fall down, you get hurt, your parent picks you up, scoops you up, holds you, and settles you back down. That's co-regulation. And so, what happens often is adults will grow up and not have that skill set of being able to self-regulate because we're so used to needing that co-regulation. So, but co-regulation is a positive thing too. I don't want that to get mixed up. We
Mhm.
need
Mhm.
co-regulation so that then people can get to that self-regulation where you can be
Exactly.
good on your own. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to emphasize is sometimes when we're having trouble finding our own regulation, and it's not no fault of our own, a lot of it is just how
Mm-mm.
we grew up and not learning the
Yes.
skills that we need. It's like faulting someone for not being able to read when they never went to school. Like it's not our faults. Like we need to learn these skills. But having someone else who is regulated and being in their presence and working so intimately as you do with your clients can be so healing and so helpful. So I just want to emphasize to
Mm-hmm.
our listeners, if you're like, I don't know where I'm at, like I don't know how to self-regulate. I want to get better at this. Work with Sarah, connect with her, see how you can work more closely with her on an individual or group level. And it definitely makes a difference with that co-regulation. So you can be better at self-regulating and learning those tools for your nervous system. So on that note,
Thank
Sarah,
you.
where can people find you? Like, where's a good place for people to connect with you, whether they just want to follow you, learn more about you, work with you?
Awesome. Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. I post often on there. You can also follow me on my website. That's resetresiliency.com, RISET, rise, and then set, just like our nervous system. And then you can also find me on TikTok. I have a couple videos up on there, and I'm looking forward to getting more info up on there. So thank you so much for having me, Michelle. This was an amazing conversation.
It was, yes. Look up Sarah. Definitely recommend. Follow her, connect with her on LinkedIn, check out her website. And I appreciate you so much for taking the time to share your knowledge and your expertise and to come on here. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you so much.
Do you want to get the happy, healthy life that you want, that you really want, in a compassionate, sustainable, and holistic way, without the pain or strain, even if you've tried everything and it hasn't worked, or you're a complete fitness noob? Become the hero of your own body, health, and life by joining the Healthy Heroes. It's the most sustainably effective, enjoyable, and comprehensive fitness community to help you live your healthiest life and enjoy your fittest body without having to diet, punish yourself, restrict your food, or strain in pain. You can join as soon as today by clicking the link in the show notes. Let's become the hero of your own health. so that you can enjoy your life to the fullest and express your unique self with the world.